Have you ever read the Bible and noticed what seems like a major contradiction? In the New Testament, the Apostle John clearly states, "No one has ever seen God." The Apostle Paul writes that God lives in inaccessible light. No man has seen him, and no man is able to see him. Yet the Old Testament is filled with stories of people who did see God. Abraham shares a meal with him. Jacob wrestles with him and declares, "I have seen God face to face." Moses speaks with God as one speaks to a friend. So which is it? Can God be seen or not? The answer lies in one of the most profound truths of the Bible, a crucial distinction between seeing a manifestation of God and seeing God in his true, unveiled essence. First, let's establish the foundation. The Bible is consistent that God, in his absolute nature, is invisible to us. He is not a physical being with a body. He is pure spirit, infinite and transcendent, existing beyond the limits of our material universe. To put it simply, our finite physical eyes cannot perceive an infinite spiritual being. His divine essence is so overwhelmingly glorious that, as God himself told Moses, "Man shall not see me and live." This is the bedrock principle. So then, what was happening in those Old Testament stories? These powerful encounters are known as theophanies. A theophany is a visible manifestation or appearance of God in a form that human senses can perceive. It isn't God in his totality, but rather a tangible sign of his presence, a way for him to interact with humanity without overwhelming us. Think of Abraham by the oaks of Mamre. He sees three men, one of whom he addresses as Lord. He provides them with a meal and speaks directly with God about the fate of Sodom. Early Christian writers, like the theologian Novatian, understood that this was not God the Father in his essence, but an appearance of the Son of God, the divine Word, before he was born as Jesus. Or consider Jacob, who wrestles through the night with a man at the river Jabbok. After this struggle, Jacob names the place Peniel, meaning face of God, because he says, "I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." Often in these stories, this figure is identified as the angel of the Lord, a messenger who speaks and acts with the full authority of God, and is even called God himself. Again, this was understood as a manifestation of God, a created form through which God's presence was made known, specifically through the person of his Son. The most profound Old Testament encounters belong to Moses. At the burning bush, he sees the angel of the Lord in a flame of fire, yet it is God who speaks from the bush. He is later said to speak with God face to face, yet in that same period, God explicitly tells him, "You cannot see my face." This isn't a contradiction. The term face to face here describes the unique intimacy and clarity of their communication. Moses wasn't speaking through riddles or distant visions like other prophets. He was receiving direct revelation. But what he saw was not God's essence, but his glory. Perhaps a consuming fire or a brilliant cloud. It was a mediated sight, a glimpse of God's majesty, but not the fullness of his being. The same is true for the prophets. When Isaiah saw the Lord high and lifted up in the temple, or when Ezekiel saw a likeness of the glory of the Lord on a heavenly throne, these were powerful divine visions, not a direct perception of God's infinite nature. They were symbolic representations designed to reveal God's truth in a way the human mind could begin to grasp. This brings us to the New Testament, where the entire puzzle is solved in the person of Jesus Christ. The Gospel of John provides the ultimate key. After stating that no one has ever seen God, it immediately continues, "The only begotten God who is in the bosom of the Father, he has made him known." That person is Jesus. Jesus himself makes this stunning claim. When his disciple Philip says, "Lord, show us the Father," Jesus replies, "He who has seen me has seen the Father." How is this possible? Through the Incarnation. In the Old Testament, God appeared in temporary forms: an angel, a fire, a cloud. In Jesus, the eternal Word became flesh and dwelt among us. God didn't just send a sign, he became human. As the Apostle Paul wrote, in Christ, all the fullness of the Godhead dwells corporeally. This is why Jesus is the ultimate and perfect theophany. He is the image of the invisible God. The New Testament even reinterprets the Old Testament visions in light of this truth. The Gospel of John says that when the prophet Isaiah saw God's glory in the temple, it was Jesus' glory that he saw. This means that the one who was manifesting God's presence to Abraham, Jacob, and Moses was the very same divine Word who would one day walk the earth as Jesus of Nazareth. So, can God be seen? In his absolute, infinite essence, no created being can see him and live. His glory is beyond our comprehension. But has God made himself seen? Absolutely. He gave glimpses of his presence through theophanies in the Old Testament, revealing himself through his eternal Word. And in the fullness of time, he gave us the most perfect sight of all. He veiled his inaccessible glory in human flesh, so that by seeing Jesus, his character, his authority, his love, his sacrifice, we can truly see the Father. To know Jesus is to know God.